Hey everybody, Amy here with Garden Up. Today what I'm going to show you is how to prune a Japanese maple. This guy I have been taking care of and pruning for about 5 years now, I think. So this will be the 5th or 6th time I've pruned on it. Every year it outgrows its little space here and makes the bench a little bit unusable, you know. But so today I'm going to reduce it back and tear it again so it looks a little bit more bonsai and a little bit more shaped. The first time I ever approach a Japanese maple, there tends to be a lot of dead stuff up underneath, but as I've been taking care of this for so long, there really isn't that much. There are a few branches that have died since last year, so I'll take care of those. And then it's just shaping. This tree really doesn't have any health issues at this point, as I've been taking care of it for so long. So it's all aesthetics for this guy right now. So the tools I'm going to need, I have quite a variety of loppers and pruners, saws, but for the most part I'm going to do almost everything with my hand pruners. As long as your hand pruners are sharp, they should be able to handle a Japanese maple. Anything that's too thick for the hand pruners will either be taken care of by my bigger loppers or by most likely my small saw. You really don't need a lot for this kind of tree. So, quite a few things, and then I have my tarp to throw debris on and my expandable rake to clean it up afterwards. Okay, now let's get started. Here we are up underneath the tree. There's a branch to take out, there's a dead branch to take out, so not too much going on here, but I'll just take these out. So, as always, when pruning a tree, you want to make sure to find the branch bark collar. That is where you will always make cuts, and Japanese maples are no exception. So, here's the branch, here's the ridge right here. You can see a real strong branch bark ridge, and the collar goes all the way around, and you can already see there's even on this one still some green, and this is the part that's dying right now. That's where it's going to create callus and seal in that wound, so I want that to be right on that spot. Okay, here's another one. This one's already creating callus, so I'm just going to come right outside of where the callus is. This one, this is dead. This one's still alive, but this is crossing back here. So I might as well, if I can get my, oh, that's hideous. I left the stub there. I don't know if I made that cut or somebody else did, but that's going to go away. This I'm going to have to tackle with my coronas. It's too big for my pruners. Right here I can do that much. Get some a little bit more out of my face. This here is dead. Back. And then this is dead. And this is growing in a direction I don't want. So is this. So you know what? We're just going to take this guy all the way back. Alright, so that's step one, is come in underneath and take out all of the dead and dying and diseased and crossing and stuff like that. This particular tree, outgrowing its space and getting a little bit too close with its neighbors here. This boxwood would like some sun, if you please. So we'll separate the two from each other there. So at this point, what I want to do, I still need to get into the middle, but I'm already considering where the tiers are going to be. And if I remember correctly from previous years, I had a top tier, I had one little swoosh over this way, and then I had another one and another one in the back. Okay, whenever I'm doing artistic pruning on a maple, I want to cut at a node, but I want to cut up underneath it so that when I make that cut, the cut visually disappears. As always, my cutting blade is on the side that I want to keep my crushing blade is on the side that I'm about to throw away, because the crushed tissue, I don't want to leave crushed tissue on the tree. And also, this is the side that's precise, the cutting side. You don't want to leave a stub just because you used your crushing side. It just wouldn't end well. So I'm going to try to tear right here, this spot. So we'll start by just a little bit at a time. Go kind of slow on this. You can always take more off. You cannot put it back on. So that's my rule of thumb when cutting on woody plants, is take your time. Just going right where we don't want it, so I'm going to take it all the way back here. This one, same thing. Ooh, good. That's a good spot. See this? This branch here is growing right over the bench where we don't want it. I could either take one or the other of these off, but there's another lateral branch back here that's a good size in comparison. So I'm going to take that whole thing off. Oh, perfect. Look, you can see the bench now. Dead end in it. That's good. Now, these are crossing. So I'm going to trim this one back. I'm making cuts that are both correct and in the direction that I want the plant to grow. This one's getting a little too long. Okay, this guy, these branches are growing out. They're almost into the lawn, and they're covering the rose that's next to it, so we're going to take those out. Always remember to step back and look at your work periodically, several times. Remember what it is you're trying to do. This guy, this whole branch is growing in a way that I don't want. So this branch is growing right over the bench, and this whole thing all the way back up to this joint, way back here, is growing in this direction. So I'm actually going to take off this whole branch to expose the bench, and then we'll see how it looks after that. There is always the question, when is the right time to prune? And for the most part, the old adage amongst arborists is the best time to prune is when the saw is sharp. And what that means is there is not a time of the year that's better than other times for pruning. It's whenever you have the right tools to do it, you can prune. And with maple trees, that is especially true because you're not worried about flowering or fruiting with a maple. So you can prune any time of the year. So my preference, especially with trees like maples and shrubs that I'm hedging and things like that, I usually do this kind of pruning in August. And that is because August is the time that a lot of the other things in the gardening are not happening. Most weeds are not really growing, so and a lot of flowers have either slowed down their blooming or they're done with their seasonal blooms. Most of the summer blooms have really long-lasting flowers. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you have any ideas of things that you'd like to see me do a video on or anything, also leave a comment down below. If you're enjoying the video and if you learned something new, please remember to hit that thumbs up and tell me about it. So you say that you liked the video. And then go ahead and subscribe while you're at it so you don't miss my future videos. I have been posting every Wednesday for Weed Wednesday, and I've got lots of weeds left to cover, so that'll probably continue for some time, but as of the time of this recording, I am still doing that. And I post every Friday for Flower Friday. I post something about the garden. I try to make it as a timely thing so that after you watch the video you can go outside and do it in your own garden, and I post on Fridays so that you have the weekend ahead of you and you can go do what you just learned about your garden. So right now what I'm doing, I'm cutting out more dead. Now that I can actually get up in here, I'm seeing all the branches that died this year. I'm not sure why Japanese maples lose so much growth each year. But they do. It's pretty normal. So what I've got now, I've exposed the bench, which this year it exposed quite a lot, and it also exposed the trunk, which is okay. I actually like that look in this spot specifically. There we go, I can see it. It's like kind of like a little peekaboo hole right there visually. Now what I want to do next is start to tier it. Over here it's still a little bit of a monster, so I want to cut like I already showed you where I'm cutting up the branches. I'm going to just make cuts in a line all the way around so that I have a top, and then I'm going to do the same thing at least one more time right here, and I might just let the rest kind of creep down a bit. I don't know, we'll see. The tree will tell me what it wants, and I'm going to go with what the tree tells me. I'm not going to try to make it do anything that it doesn't want. That is one very important thing, is make sure to listen to your plants. Don't try to force them to do something they aren't ready to do. Here's a good spot right here. This branch gets pretty wide pretty quick, but here's a lateral that is a sizable ratio to the one I'm about to cut, so I'm going to cut right at that spot. This is called heading back. I want to come up right in here, so let's take this one here. Not sure on that one yet. I'll come back to that. This one needs to come back. I think he actually wants to come all the way back. Okay, so this is interesting. This one I've headed back a few times to try to get it to do what I wanted it to do, and it just keeps growing this way. So we're going to go back even farther this year. There we go. Okay, I'm using my hand to sweep. These guys are still very much where I want to make my cuts. I might actually make this tier kind of come down this way a little bit this year. Now I'm kind of shaping up what I think is going to be the second tier right here. I'm going to, this tier is going to swoop down a little bit and then come up. That's how that's going to work. This branch here is doing something interesting. This is called an inverted crotch. Basically what's happening is the branch that split isn't joining together correctly. Normally the wood knits over itself. Each branch connects together strongly. Sometimes it doesn't do that. Sometimes it kind of goes in like this, and that's what's happening here. And this makes a weak attachment, and one of these is usually going to come off. So I probably could have left this one on the tree because it's so small, but it was right where I was going to cut anyway. So instead of cutting back to this point, I just cut all the way back to the next largest branch. But I thought you'd like that little bit of info. On a full-size tree, let's pretend this was a trunk on a tree in your yard. If it has an inverted crotch like this and a big, hefty, heavy branch, and this is a weak point that can break, and that can present a hazard in yards and in parks and all kinds of things. So if you ever see an inverted crotch in your trees, you'll want to get that taken care of right away before it becomes a real big problem and a hazard. Okay, back to pruning. Okay, so here I'm coming up, using my hand to sweep, to remember, guide myself and remind myself of where that tier is going to be. Here's another little peekaboo hole. I'm going to be exposing these branches, and that's okay. It actually, I think, looks really neat. Okay, now I'm going to try to find this poor boxwood. It's getting eaten!
Uh-oh.
So this big branch here is tangled up in the others. It's completely covering the boxwood. There we go, got it. Right, so this one I'm going to take out back to its next joint. This one, that direction's fine. This guy, here we go. Those are good. I'm just going to prune away from the boxwood. So I'm trimming off the growth that's coming in this direction so that it encourages more growth that way. So before you got here, I mentioned apical meristems, and cutting them off encourages lateral growth. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So the cell, the single cell that is responsible for all of the growth of a branch is in the very end, right here. If I cut that cell off, the branch can no longer grow longer. Okay? But the remaining branch will be encouraged to grow laterally, because that's the only way it can. This guy, start by taking it back to there, and cutting blade down. Pardon. There we go. Right on the branch bark collar all the way around. And this one, same thing. It's coming from here. That's actually a good place to cut that one too. Watch your fingers. Fine. There we go. Good clean cut. Nice. Right here, this one is getting really long, really where I don't want it to be. This is where I've headed it back. Somebody did. I left a stub. Let's take that stub off so that it can grow callus and heal itself. Excuse me, seal itself. Trees do not heal, they seal. All they can do is seal up their wounds. Okay, so now this one, again, as close to that collar as I can, and take that out. That's another stub that someone left in the past. There, that's gone. Okay, now since we're in here, let's take out all this dead. Last few trims here, I'm just cutting this up a bit, keep it out of the roses business. Making sure to nip back as many branches as I can find, because I actually want to remove the apical meristems to keep it from growing too far out. Pretty much if I miss one apical meristem, that branch that I missed is going to grow like crazy, miles ahead of all the others, and it will look really gangly in comparison. So you want to get as close to all of them as you can. See a couple more that still need to be trimmed up. This one's still in the way of my tier. That one right up there. This one is coming up too high to get back to. So I've got a big tier, like an umbrella, going over, and I've got a poof over here. I kind of want to make that more of a tier as well. So I'm going to try to tame that a little more. And then I'm going to separate the two this way. we can use the bench again. Isn't this nice? Yep, job well done. One last look, there's still a couple of little dead sticks in there. We'll take those out in a minute. Oh, that is how to artistically prune a Japanese maple. Again, it takes a lot of practice. Make sure to listen to what your plant is telling you so that you're working with it and not against it. But for the most part, as long as you're doing that, you'll pretty much always find some mutual common ground. Make it look the way you want it to look while still respecting what the plant wants. And I think that's it for today. So on that note, see you in the garden.